Hello and welcome to the channel. Zach D Productions here, and I'm here for an album review for you guys. Now, for this review, I'll be reviewing the new album by Dream Theater, A View from the Top of the World. And this was one of my most anticipated albums of the year, and for good reason. Dream Theater is probably one of my favorite bands, and they're most likely my favorite progressive metal band too. Now, their last album, Distance Over Time, came out a few years ago at this point, and I thought that was a very good album. So my expectations for the next album were really high, and when I heard that Dream Theater was making a new album, I was definitely curious about what this band was going to do next. So now we have this album, A View from the Top of the World, so let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, I have to say that sound-wise, this album, Chronology, sounds like it could have came out in between A Dramatic Turn of Events and the self-titled album. I don't know if anyone else hears it, or if that's just me, but I do kind of get a sense or style of A Dramatic Turn of Events, that type of era on this album. It kind of does sound like it could be a late 2000s, early 2010s era Dream Theater album, which is something that I really do like. And it's kind of like a nice change-up of things, I guess. And, going furthermore with the sound, I think sound-wise, they've really stepped it up in many ways. Even with the orchestral elements, the orchestral elements were something that really did stand out to me, because their last album, Distance Over Time, I felt like the orchestral elements were lacking a bit. But it is nice to see that they're using them a little bit more on this album, and they really do stand out in a very good way, I must say. And as far as the instrumentation itself, the drum work is really fantastic from Mike Mangini. I think that this album does have some of his best drum work, if I'm being honest. Really good stuff, as well as the guitar work as well. The guitar work really does stand out on tracks like Answering the Call, and Awaken the Monster, Sleeping Giant. You just have to listen to these songs to really find out for yourself. As well as the title track, too. The guitars really do stand out on this album. I think they might even be an improvement on this album compared to the last couple Dream Theater albums, at least. Very well done, I would say. And before Dream Theater released this album, they did release some singles, The Alien and Invisible Monster. Now, what is interesting, and one thing that I really do like, is you get each side of Dream Theater with these songs. You get the more proggy, more complex side of the band with the song The Alien, and then you get the more straightforward side, more accessible side with Invisible Monster. Both are very good songs, and yeah. But as far as other very good songs on the album, I think all the songs on this album are excellent. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Now, obviously, yes, I'm going to have my favorites. Some songs are better than others, but there's not a single track on this album that I would consider bad by any means. Now, at the moment, it's really hard to pick favorites, because obviously this album just came out. But I really do like the title track, which is the epic long song off this album that's about 20 minutes or so. And it's been a while since Dream Theater released a song this long, and it is a very great song, and I can definitely see this being one of my favorites on the album for sure. I just really find the different passages very unique, and just the places it goes musically. You got a more laid-back, calm section in the middle of the song. It's just very well done, I think. And, James LaBrie, this does feature some of his best vocals on this track. And, some of the songs that I feel has some of James LaBrie's best vocals on the album would have to be Answering the Call, Transcending Time, the title track, and maybe The Alien as well. So overall, I think this is a very strong album from Dream Theater. I think every song on it is great. Now again, there are some songs better than others, of course, like with any album. But I think this is a very solid release from these guys. Now, if I were to name a complaint with this album, or maybe two little complaints. I would have liked a ballad off this album because there's not really anything off this album that you would really consider a ballad. Now, sure, I think the closest thing on this album that comes close to being a ballad is Transcending Time, but I wouldn't really consider that a ballad. Well, I guess depending on who you ask, of course. But that is a more melodic-driven track, for sure. And I do think that is a very good song. But yeah, I probably would have liked a ballad from this album because I really do like Dream Theater's ballads. And that is something that I am a little disappointed in, is the lack of ballads on the album. But it is what it is. And another complaint that I have, which is not a very big complaint, but I guess it's just the aging in James LaBrie's vocals. You could tell that he doesn't really have it as much as he did on other Dream Theater albums. I think vocally he sounds, you could argue, a little bit better on Distance Over Time. I do think that his vocal performances on Distance Over Time were a little bit stronger, but by no means does he sound bad on this album. I think he did a very good job on this album vocally and everything. I'm not sure how many people will disagree with me or agree with me on that, but again, I think his vocals are still pretty good on this album. So overall, I think it's a very strong album from Dream Theater. So if I were to give this album a score, I would have to give this album probably either an 8.7 or a 9 out of 10. I'm not sure on that, but I'm kind of leaning towards an 8.7 out of 10. But yeah, around that score would probably be what I would score this Dream Theater album. I think it's very solid. Now, how does this album stack up in comparison to their last album, Distance Over Time? That I don't know. I'm still not exactly sure what I like better, which album I like more. I do think that this new album, sounds more like Dream Theater, per se, than Distance Over Time did. But once again, I think vocally, James LaBrie sounds a little bit better on the last album. But I'm still not sure at the moment. I think only time will tell on that. I think as time goes, I'll make a solidified decision on that. But nonetheless, A View from the Top of the World by Dream Theater, very strong. Very good album. Highly recommend it if you like progressive metal or are just a Dream Theater fan. So, that's my review for this album. Let me know what you guys think of it. I do think it is one of the best albums of the year. I'm going to go ahead and say it. So let me know what you guys think. So with that being said, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day and take care.